Bennett responding after the fumble with a tremendous throw and catch. And then the pick six to seal it. And one more play for the Georgia defense. Georgia on the mountaintop. Demons be gone, and the drought is over. National champions at long last.
Good morning, everybody. And George Bashir and I spent the whole Monday night watching the national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. If you tuned into us over the weekend, we had a good roundtable discussion between Dan Tortora and Kip McNair from the Bama Online, and also Rob Sanders, and George was there as well. So, George, what's your take on this game? Georgia winning their first national title since 1980. I was not even born until 1981. So, I don't even know anything about the 1980 Alabama, the Georgia team, except for some guy named Herschel Walker.
Well, first I want to go back to our roundtable discussion. I was the only guy that picked Georgia out of 5 guys, and I almost nailed the final score, by the way. So I think that it was good that a different team has won a national championship, and Georgia just played good ball in the second half.
Yeah, they came out, like in the first half, it was basically more field goals than we saw yesterday in the NFL. It reminded me of the Steelers and Ravens, just playing, field goal kicking until, late third quarter when everything started turning around.
And that's the key. You're holding Alabama to field goals. No one does that to Alabama. The last time I saw someone do that really was Notre Dame last year, and in the college football playoff, where the first half, once again, it was all about field goals, but the whole second half it just blew up for the Dogs.
Yeah, I think the turning point we both agreed is that blocked field goal that Georgia brought in number 88, and that guy Carter, who came up and just literally, got a finger on it, and basically, blocked that field goal. But if they got that field goal, it would be a different story right now.
Yep, and you can even talk about the series before that, where Alabama had the interception. Georgia had the interception but got no points. When you have a turnover against Alabama, you got to turn those opportunities into points. And they missed the first time, but they definitely capitalized on that second one. Right,
exactly. Let's just look at the first downs. Georgia had 20 first downs to Alabama's 22. But here's something you don't see. Alabama literally got controlled by their running game. You remember that game against Cincinnati? It was a big, that running back, Anderson, basically was the Robinson. He ran for like almost 200 yards. He was almost like he was a beast in that game. He was contained in this game.
Well, I had thought something and I wasn't sure, but now looking at the stats, Georgia made them one-dimensional. They forced Alabama to go to the air. They made the Heisman Trophy winner do what he was supposed to do, and that was throw the ball. And it ends up being the walk-on and Stetson Bennett that that gets the national championship. I believe we mentioned that the other day in the call as well.
Yeah, exactly. A kid walking on his college team he grew up watching. Like I love Florida State since I was 9 years old, and I'm thinking to myself right now, going, man, what if I had any talent besides, I couldn't even do 2-a-days in high school football, and I passed out and went home. That's a hell of a story. You got a kid who wanted to play for Georgia. Nobody gave him anything. Yep. He walked on, went to a community college for 1 year. Kirby Smart gives him a scholarship in 2019 and say, well, you're a third stringer, and you're going to be on the roster and you got a scholarship. And he worked his way up to being the dude. And he basically is down the toast of Athens, and he might run for governor.
Well, he'd probably win the election too.
He probably would. Right now. But George, it's almost like your daughter playing in band, and she walks on at Notre Dame and plays in the Notre Dame band without anybody giving her an opportunity. It's basically that's that feeling. And those parents who I was reading, they're not strangers to college football. His grandfather played for South Carolina back in the 50s when South Carolina was part of the ACC.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that family knew how to play football. And, I guess, the blood runs deep in in that South.
Well, I guess what it comes down to, it's the old story. Who puts the work in and who just shows up and thinks they can make it happen.
Yeah. I feel like Georgia had something had something to prove, because that SEC title game, they got run out of, Mercedes-Benz Stadium by Alabama, and then they were upset about losing to Alabama, and they did everything. They ran people early in the morning.
That was fodder. That was locker room fodder for them. They woke the giant. They lost that game. But how many times has this happened where the first game and then the reverse happens, right? The team wins, and then you come back the second time and the reverse happens.
Right.
We talked about that the other night too. It's hard to beat somebody twice. It's difficult to beat somebody twice.
I've seen it.
It showed it in the first half. There was field goals.
Mm-hmm. I seen it when I was a kid growing up. Florida State and Miami played in 1 year in a regular season game. Florida State beat them, and then they had to face each other in the Orange Bowl, and Miami beat them. And it's really hard when you see somebody already played, for that season. And lo and behold, Georgia and Alabama played almost a month ago or 2 months ago. So it's technically still fresh in everybody's mind. It's not like they played at the beginning of the season in Charlotte, and you haven't seen each other since then.
Well, I'll tell you what, I sit there, I'm watching the game, and all of the stuff that was just going down, you just felt like something was going to happen. And when the back-to-back sacks came up, I was like, oh, I mean, you were looking for two things. Is Georgia going to just, like what happens with everybody else, are the wheels going to come off the bus?
Right.
And it almost did, but after that last score by Alabama, they weren't happy. And the other key play was the fumble. I mean, if you look at that was so close.
Yeah.
I mean, what a play to be just stay in bounds or just be out of bounds that you can't really say.
Let's talk about that real quick. I thought that was an incomplete pass because the way his arm is going forward, that was almost like that tuck roll that guy Brady had up in New England. It looked like one of those situations again that he went back and somebody hit his arm, and then the ball went out, and the call goes, no, that's a fumble. I'm like, no, the arm went forward.
It looks like it goes forward. And this is one of those things, it's so difficult. It's because you're looking for a human being to make a judgment call.
Right.
You can only look at it so many different ways. And if anything, I think the ball was out of bounds, because if you look at where the shoe is, there's no green between the guy's shoe and the white paint.
Well,
the ball's out of bounds. It's a fumble, but it's out of bounds. So if anything, it becomes a illegal grounding.
Right.
And that's what you're hoping is Georgia. You're just hoping it's going to get an illegal grounding, because now you can punt the ball away.
Right. And here's the other problem: is this is why you play games at indoor football stadiums. This is why we talk about playing in the old cold, and gray and rainy. And you can actually, if this was outdoors with no artificial turf field, you would have had a cleat mark right on that sideline.
And by the way, 19 degrees outside Lucas Oil.
Wow. It went up because Chris Fowler was saying it was like 8 degrees around the second quarter. That's what he was talking about. I don't
know where he was getting that temperature, but
yeah, I
can tell you here, it got cold here quick after I got back yesterday from Lucas Oil.
Mm-hmm.
It snowed overnight, and we got almost 4 inches of snow. That was unexpected.
Wow. glad you got home in time without worrying. You got down there and got there quick.
Yep.
But let's recap real quick at the end of this game. I feel like the key to the player of the game. I know they gave it to Bennett, the quarterback. I think they should have given it to James Cook, because that big run was the best run off of Alabama since Nick Chubb did it, years ago. And 65-yarder. And here's something people don't realize: the Cook brothers are. Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for sorry for the tough loss tonight. This is a question for all three of you guys. What do you guys have to work on in the offseason to get back to this game? And I know probably this game will probably be over in 2 minutes, and you guys get ready for the next season. What do you guys have to do?
Ryan, we'll start with you first.
Well, guys got to come back next year, with that mindset, that, just got to put in work throughout the whole year. I have faith in these guys, coming back next year. I know they'll come back and be great. Just got to focus on what's next, what's ahead of them.
Henry?
It's just about never losing that team. Remembering how this feels, coming back in the off season and grinding harder than ever so that we don't feel this again.
And DJ?
I'll just say the same thing we always do. We always work hard every off season. So it's like the same one. I mean, we got a sour taste in our mouth coming off a loss, but the same thing we always do. So just get back to work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job on the homework.
Yeah, wanted Florida State because of my good buddy who I talk to a lot, and Davin Cook, and then his brother James, who basically is the one-word guy. But it's pretty cool that both him and his brother both got national championships, and they both played in the Orange Bowl to get to I know Florida State played Auburn in the Rose Bowl, but that's pretty cool. And also on top of that, you got we were talking earlier about national championship games. It's hard for people who win the Heisman. It's really hard because you got a lot of pressure on yourself now because you're the Heisman Trophy winner. And I know Joe Burrow did a great job against LSU against Clemson a couple years ago because he won the Heisman. But over the years since I've been growing up, Chris Wanke, bit the dust. Gino Torretta played crappy against Alabama. I think the only person who did well winning the Heisman Trophy is famous Jameis because he beat Auburn. But normally it's not good for quarterbacks winning the Heisman Trophy.
Yep. And to be honest with you, the interesting stat is I thought there was going to be more sacks for the Georgia defense.
Yeah.
There was only 3 sacks, and 2 of them came in the fourth quarter.
Wow. Yeah, let me look at it real quick because I know the Georgia defense, the Alabama defense, they had 5 sacks.
4.
And Christian Harris had 3 of them.
They had 4 sacks.
He had 4 sacks. They put 3 in here. And the quick, yeah. So I guess
that's why I always go back to the official stats.
Hey, I got that from official staff. That's the quickie they sent me.
Yeah, the quickie's wrong, unfortunately. When you look at the stat media stats, it's 4 for Alabama, 3 for Georgia.
Yeah. Well, this is probably the end of college football for 2021-22 season. Let's recap. What did you like about this season? I think we had no cancellations to the bowl games, so that's a good sign. They got to work on these bowl games to get better. To get these players to not opt out or play the COVID card.
We got to learn to live with the COVID thing, man.
Yeah.
It's here to stay, and we need to figure out nationally how we just do what we got to do.
Yeah.
And the season. I think anytime you have a changing of the guard, where there's something new. I mean, unfortunately, it was another SEC battle, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, David beat Goliath.
Right.
And it's as ESPN said, it's very weird to see Nick Saban going first in a college football, playoff championship game.
Hey, he was very nice to Kirby, and somebody asked him. I was going to try to ask him a question. I was like, I know, Kirby Smart is the other side of the football, but when you look at all said and done, are you happy for your best friend?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's good when the student beats the teacher.
Yeah. Jim finally figured out how to do it this year, but
Yep.
yeah, but anyway, let's look at the head of next year. Some storylines that we're going to have the ACC kickoff and all these other ones. Yeah, Clemson, brand new.
Clemson's going to have all new stuff.
Yeah.
You have week 1 in August at the Shoe, Notre Dame and Ohio State. You have playoff implications day 1.
Right.
Day 1. That's awesome. That's football.
Yeah, that's football.
That is football like we keep talking about. You know, we keep talking about football back in the 80s. What do you want to see? I want to see 2 tough teams playing each other week 1.
Right.
That's what I want. That's an all-in move.
Mm-hmm. And I got to ask a question like I asked Nick Caparetti, the guy who the head of the bowl season. Is there one team that you looked at this year during this bowl season going, we need to keep an eye on them from next year? Or you don't even care that bowl games are different than regular season?
I don't know. I was actually looking to see how Coastal Carolina was going to do after their miracle season last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they still had a good bowl season.
Right.
So I mean, you go back to back bowling, and you're Coastal Carolina. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
They could become a point of controversy.
Yeah.
With why can't we be in the national championship? Anything's possible.
Right. And I think that's what we saw from what Cincinnati, that's why I said to Cincinnati's players, I know you're not holding the flag for, you're holding the flag for your university, but you're also holding the flag for your conference, because now the American Conference is getting the recognition that they needed.
That's right.
And Dan Notre, who's been there from day one when it was, we don't know who we're going to call it. I got to give Dan, that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears sitting there with a conference going, should I jump ship and go to the ACC? I love seeing him at the ACC media day. Him and I have, it was fun hearing his voice this summer and get a chance to hang out with him. And maybe next summer, maybe you and I you could come down to Charlotte and, see the experience, because it's cool when you see all these coaches walking around. And this year we got brand new coaches walking around in the ACC. So
there's going to be more new coaches next year.
Yeah. It's like you got new people in Miami and Duke and who else? Virginia Tech. I just look at that. I just can't wait for, I know this bowl season's done. The bowl season's done. National championship's done, but I'm looking forward to go down to Charlotte in July and see all these people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, if you look at the stats, because I'm a stats guy.
Yeah.
The one stat that skews the total rushing yards for Georgia was the 67-yard run. They ended up with 140 yards rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One play almost chewed up half of it. But their total offense was 364 to Alabama's 399 and 30 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So
I guess
I will give you those stats every day and twice on Sunday. If you could tell me that you're coming out with fewer total yards on offense and your net passing yards is less than the losing team.
Right.
You have 224 yards passing to their 369. The aerial assault was there, but the problem was the bombs weren't going off. The air raid was working, but it wasn't finishing.
Right.
It wasn't finishing. So,
exactly.
But good for the dogs. Good for those fans. It's good for college football.
So here's my question. I got to do a research on that. Who has the longest drought now?
Oh,
you guys?
Well, I was just going to say the 1980, they were a 1980 team. And by the way, Kirby Smart was only 5 years old the last time Georgia won.
Wow. That's awesome.
But I don't know. You got to be creeping into that territory of Notre Dame being on the schneid for longest without a national championship. That's it. They got to be now in at least in the top 4.
Well, I think if you look at it, it might be one you guys. I think two might be Miami because they won in 2001. It's been 20 years, some odd years that Miami has won a national title, and that team in 2001 was a. Here we go. He's getting all the. He's working on the computer. Yeah, yeah. But I think it's you guys. I think the next one is. I think it's. Miami. I think Florida State's behind them because we're 2014, but that's still relevant. Because it's only 2000. We're in 2022, so it's not 10 years. What about Georgia Tech? 1990.
That would be 32 years.
Yeah, and they won a split national championship that year.
Yep.
Yeah. So Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. Who else in the SEC? Nobody else in the SEC. Big Ten. Well, Ohio State won one recently. Michigan hasn't won one since '97. That's when some guy named Brady beat them. Won, the bowl game against Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find that on the fly.
Right.
Hold on here.
Yeah, I just really think it's by you guys one, Georgia Tech 2. Hold on, let me bring up National
Football. National.
Championship. Year by year. Okay, here we go. Year by year.
We got there at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Well, you got to go with the Gators. 008.
08 would be.
Wait a minute.
It can't be.
Wait a minute. Let's go backwards. You got UCLA. You got the Trojans in 2004, but that got vacated, so that's not even out there. Texas in 2005, and then you got Florida in 06, and then you got LSU. Ever since Texas won it, it's been Florida, LSU, Florida, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Seminoles, Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah, but you can't. Here we go.
Okay.
National championships.
Okay.
Let's see here. Notre Dame's at the top of the list.
Okay.
Last they won is in 88.
Right.
So you'd have to go back to 88. Well, guess what? Pittsburgh, 1976.
Wow. Okay. So that's
How's that?
Yeah.
Harvard, 1919. Penn, 1924.
Maryland in 53.
So when you look back for teams, I mean, it's not that bad for Notre Dame when you go look at it. There's always someone else that's going to take more of the heat.
Hey, what about Cornell? What about Cornell, baby? Cornell in 1922.
1939.
Yeah. Texas
1939 for Cornell.
Yeah, TCU in 38. Then you got Minnesota back-to-back 40 and 41.
Boston College, 1940.
Oh, they said Minnesota in 1940 AP. I guess they didn't put Boston College. I guess they had a split one.
Well, Boston College has a national championship in 1940.
Well, this is from the SEC. This is from the ACC, the NCAA records. So I guess someone needs to call them.
So the list is kind of interesting, but no, Notre Dame is not the Harvard. I would say it goes back to Harvard in 1919.
Well, if you want to do currently, you got to go back to Pittsburgh in 76.
Yep.
Then you got to go to 1986 with Penn State. They haven't won it since then.
Yep. I was going to say Penn State, by the way.
Then you guys.
Yep.
And then Colorado and Georgia Tech in 1990.
That if you're looking modern day, those would be your top five.
Well, top five is going to be Pittsburgh.
No, it gets worse. Chicago, 1913.
Yeah, they're not even in their division.
They're not even a school. They were the Chicago Maroons, by the way.
They're still a school, dude. They're a division. They're actually a Division III.
Yep, they were actually the founding member of the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, bring them back in. Yeah, but
I don't think they'll bite on that.
No, but if you look at it, it's like 1986. You know, we were saying Penn State, and then you got you guys, and then you got Colorado and Georgia Tech and Washington in 1991, and then you got to go back. You got to always have to go back to, and then you got Nebraska in '97 that won the last time they won. Tennessee before they, when they beat Florida State in '98, in the Fiesta Bowl that I don't talk about.
I would say think about this. I don't want to jump topics on you.
Yeah.
But think about this. Everyone beats on different teams, right? Because they get blown out in a football game, right?
Right.
Notre Dame will be the first team that has to fall on the sword because they either got blown out by Alabama in the consecutive years, right?
Right.
Last year and the year before, it was Alabama and Clemson, right?
Right.
They go play a national championship game against Georgia. They got blown out.
Yeah.
Does anyone else say, do they belong?
Well, they belong. It's just now we have the new coach Freeman, and I think we'll see what he
No. Let's talk about Alabama. Do they belong? Did they belong there?
Hey, you know what I should do? I'm looking at it before we go to, we're wrapping it up here. I should come out to the Notre Dame spring game and see what the team looks like during the spring practice.
You should.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun to do. Do a trip around spring games, because spring games are basically, they have the weirdest freaking scoring system you ever seen. And
yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1 point for 1 yard. And the other, it's like, what? Yeah. It's like, okay, weirdo. Yeah.
But Chris, what a great thing for college football.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing for college football.
And it's going to get better each year now, with these different new colleges, and you got colleges who want to get better, and they're going to fire their coach no matter what, and we'll see what Oklahoma and the Trojans going to look like. Now Trojans might lose their coach because Lincoln Riley's hooked up to the Vikings right now. What was that? I saw somebody today that Lincoln Riley is being asked to interview for the Vikings job.
Wow. Imagine that.
He used to go to the Vikings. He had never took a snap as a Trojan head coach.
And the flip side of that is that he was trying to bring his quarterback from Oklahoma with him.
Right.
Because he went into the transfer portal.
Right.
Imagine that. That's like hey, let's do this. You can come join with me over at USC. Put yourself in the transfer portal.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, bud, thanks for coming, doing this early in the morning. Let's get ready. You got to get to work. I got to go help somebody out. So, good talking. We'll see you.
Hey, this was fun.
Yes, it was fun.
We did our homework. We did what we had to do. I wish you could have got your credential.
I just look at it as like I get the access that I need, and I got my streak.
Absolutely.
Streak continues that I asked a question during a national championship game. So,
yep,
it's a good thing, and just now we just have to work on what we're going to do for the rest of the winter. We got basketball, folks. We got, hopefully we'll do some cool stuff down the road, and then we get to springtime. It's baseball, and hopefully baseball gets back up and running with Major League Baseball. We'll talk some Orioles, Mets, Yankees, all that good stuff. So, all right, bud. Well, we'll see you next Tuesday, right?
Take it easy. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
All right, buddy.
And we'll chat soon.
We will chat soon. All right, folks. We'll be right back with Chris Barnes here on the Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. All right, folks. Welcome to the Sports Desk here on a beautiful Tuesday evening, and I'm Chris Heidel with Steve Zillich at the other base there. Adam Demise, our good friend Adam, who does a lot of things with professional bowlers for a big fan. So let's bring in Chris Barnes to, I guess you love that little intro there. I worked all morning long with that, buddy.
There we go. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I had to, when you wake up with something, you're going, I need to do something cool. Yeah, it's like, excellent. So how you been, sir? I know you were a busy, great week last week being a father with your son. Bowling really well.
100%. He really started bowling only a year ago last May, and so 20 months in, and went out to bowl Team USA trials, and he actually made somewhat of a run at the big team, but he made the U21, got an automatic qualifying spot on the U21 Team USA. So,
wow,
it's been an incredible 20 months. He makes Junior Team USA. His brother makes the Dean's List. It's been a nice little run, and in December for the Barnes family for sure.
Yeah. So he just picked up bowling like last year.
Well, he bowled league. He bowled growing up, but he bowled one-handed, and he just bowled a little bit of league. And last league he bowled in, he was 12, and he threw it one-handed. Mm-hmm. And then became a pretty high-end. He played in the highest level of baseball. Through about 15 years old, and then he decided to. Then he really got serious about basketball, and he played with the top 50 team in the country. His teammates are in high school were Davion Harmon, who's at Oklahoma, and now he's at Oregon. He's the point guard there. Jalen Wilson, who put up 20 for Kansas the other night. Jacoby Coles is playing at TCU, and the kid who's a sophomore at the time, he's going to go to UNLV next year. Mm-hmm. And played with some crazy talent, and at 5'9", and he was certainly undersized, but was pretty skilled. Was able to, he was a starter with his senior year with that group, and so it's kind of wild. But he was going to have to go play small college basketball, and he decided that wasn't the route he wanted to go. So, especially with COVID, he couldn't go visit anywhere and find out kind of where a good fit would be.
Right.
I'll just play home. I mean, my mom and dad were good at it, so how hard could it be?
Yeah, exactly. Like I know Steve up there. He's been bowling for like myself. Since we were kids, and I'm still trying to bowl. More than a 250 game. This guy bowls more on the Wii system, more 300 games. Right, Steve?
Yeah, it's been crazy. I wouldn't have guessed that it would progress this fast. You hope it will.
Yeah, that is
as a parent, but you don't think it's going to get that good that quickly. And so he's seen some big time. He's making a name for himself on his own. Pretty soon it'll be I'll be Ryan Barnes' dad. So
like Parker has his sons bowling pretty well too. So everybody's thinking, hey, that's Parker's sons are better than Parker the bowler. I'm like, the guy has more titles than their son. Like, come on now.
Well, I don't think anybody thinks his sons are better than Parker, but he's got Buddy and Lucky, and they're both really good, and they're going to make a name for themselves in this sport along the way for sure.
That's cool. Well, this week is the Players Championship regionals, and you get an opportunity to stay home and go to Garland Lanes in Texas. It's actually a really well-known center because they had the United States Open a couple years ago. So, what kind of lanes are there at that facility?
It's a Bolero Center, so it's HPL. It's been around a little bit, but they did level them when they came in for the U.S. Open. So it's by most standards of a 30, 40-year-old center, it's pretty level. It's in good shape, and so I would expect.
I found this last night. I was like, "This is fun."
Only played there, that's for sure.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, hey, Big West Milan will be there. I know that.
He will not. He'll be in the central region because
he's central now. That's right. He moved.
Yeah, he's in Fort Wayne now. He's not in Texas anymore. So, our region got a little bit softer because Simonson went to Las Vegas and Wes went up north to Fort Wayne, and Fagan 5 or 6 years ago, moved to Minnesota and bought a chain of centers up there, and so it's still really good and it's very deep, but it's not quite as top heavy as it used to be.
Right. Hey, Adam, go ahead, buddy.
All right. Now, Chris, surprisingly, you were not kept by Silver Lake Atom Splitters manager Mark Baker on the PBA League team. Now, you'll be a part of the draft pool on April 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So what team would you like to be with when the PBA League goes back to the crazy atmosphere that is Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine? And I will be there in July, so can't wait to see which team you're on.
Well, they'll get the 3rd pick, so hopefully I get to go back to the same team, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I was a franchise player there originally. Mark
Sure.
Baker and I are, you know, he's one of my best friends in the world. And so a little while back, I called him and I said, hey, I'm gonna save you from an awkward conversation. If you got 3 guys that are in the top 12 or top 10 in the world in the rankings, and I've been in the teens, 20s, and 30s the last few years, and so I mean you just can't. You know, this guy's are the future, and you have to put me back in the pool, and hopefully I'm there when it comes back around, and hopefully I'm good enough if you want to pick me again. So, but yeah, it's just it's the right play moving forward. Adding Chris Vi to Nestor and Tom Doherty continues that core group to where they have a chance to be successful every year.
Exactly. Hey, Steve, you're on a delay. Let's go, bud. I mean, what do you want to say to Chris Barnes? He's in a different part right now. So, yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Chris. It's good to see you again. And talk about your times from when you first started, now that you're going on the senior tour. How's that working?
For my time on tour, or did you say time on tour or time at college?
I think he wanted to say senior tour. I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You being on the senior tour, you had was that your first full season last year?
Yeah. My first actual eligible year, there was no senior tour because of everything going on. But last year was my first one, so I was between both tours. There were some overlapping things in there. I wasn't bowling particularly well on the regular tour, but I did okay on the senior tour. Not quite as well as I would have liked, but I bowled one turn. Oh, I had one tournament where I didn't finish in the top 7, and I finished 17th in that one. But I had to miss 4 different tournaments for a variety of reasons. 3 of them overlap with PBA events, and then some family thing. My sister got pretty sick for a little while, and I had to miss a little bit there. So came down to the last couple of weeks. I ended up bowling Tom Hess for titles 2 weeks in a row. He beat me both weeks, and then and by that standard, he was able to sneak by me by a few points to win both Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year. So a pretty solid year overall, but a little disappointing that's how it turned out. Is the only real goal I had out of the whole deal was to be the first person to be PBA Rookie Player and PBA 50 Rookie and Player of the Year. So, you know, but PBA put some things on top of the other tour, and there were, you know, I'm still paid, and that's still the primary focus is the big tour, and trying to win a few more times out there.
Yeah. How's your podcast going with Stuart Williams? You guys, I haven't seen any in a while. So are you guys still doing it, or?
Yeah. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central.
Okay.
10:15 on Tuesdays, but we had a couple of days off during the holidays through there, and so we missed a few. Last week we had one day that didn't really work out because of me being in Las Vegas for the team trials, and so it works around schedules now that we get busy again, and we do as best we can, or we schedule for later in the day. But we're still busy with that, doing a lot of ball reviews, doing a lot of things like that on top of it. So growing the YouTube side of things.
Nice. And you do the same thing on StreamYard, so this is like the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I just had to take down my take down my green screen because I didn't know if you wanted all the
Hey, where's the King's hat you had the last time you came on? You gave me the I was like, your Highness, how you doing?
Yeah.
Plus, I had to tell people, Adam, I have to tell you a story. Chris Barnes told me a story about I found an old bowling thing of him and Lisa, Mark Roth and all of them bowling on NBC. And he was telling me a story about, you told me something about the media, and you got to learn to not say something to somebody that you don't know that's part of, somebody's daughter. And I told this story, and you were telling me, like, yeah, you didn't realize that, you told me the story. I didn't realize it was Lisa Whiter's father. And then you're driving home and you have to do like damage report, trying to like, swing things around. But now you're in the media. Now you understand how we have to, we take things and make it into a story.
Oh yeah. I didn't know who I was talking to. It's the first mistake as an interviewee is to not know who you were talking to. I was talking to Jim Rathkeeper. I didn't know that was Lisa Wagner's maiden name, and so he asked me what I thought my chances were, and I said Mark Roth and Marshall Holman. I grew up imitating them; they're my heroes. But I thought I could strike as much as Lisa, and I saw him stiffen up, so I knew I hit it. He didn't agree,
right?
And, but I was 18 and. I said I knew I couldn't spare with her, but I thought I could strike with her, and it was strikes only. And that's what I felt at the time, even though as much as Lisa had struck on the women's tour. But yeah, from then on, there was a slant to everything I did. So if it was in question, I was going to get the bad end of the deal. And you don't ever win with the media, especially not then. There was no way to fight back on social media. They had the only voice. So I got clipped pretty good in Bowler's Journal later on that next month, and I had it coming. It was a dumb mistake, and I certainly learned my lesson.
Right, exactly. Hey, I learned that I got chewed out by Brian Kelly last year in the Cotton Bowl, so I learned my lesson. So it's like
wow.
It's being in the media, you got to take a roll with the punches sometimes, and it's not they're taking a sweat at you or anything. It's just a bad day or. He said something like Nick Saban. You try to word it perfectly so they don't have somebody tell you a new one.
Yeah, he just he doesn't create a lot of sound bites unless it's on purpose.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you don't care as much about it, so you can have a little bit more fun and have a few more opinions, and you can be a little more Teflon. But when you're young and you care about what everybody thinks, it was a harsh lesson in reality.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Chris, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much. Relax. Good week. Enjoy this week. Bowl well in Texas, and maybe we can see you on Fox Sports 1 with Dave Ryan and some guy named Randy Peterson
and Kimberly Pressler.
Yeah, that's him. I can't forget her.
Yeah. I'll see you in July. Chris. You take it easy, and can't wait to see what team you're on for the PBA League. I know. You're excited to be back at Bayside Bowls just as much as me is. We all saw what happened last year with the king of the lanes when you the infamous ripped your jersey. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
Can't wait to get back. Hopefully, I'm on a team.
Yes, sir.
So
we'll keep in touch.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
See you. Bye.
I'll see you, Chris.
All right, folks. That's Chris Barnes joining us this evening here on the program. He'll be bowling this weekend. If you are in the Texas area, in the Galveston Lanes in Texas, he'll be doing the bowling in the South Regional. So that's a good thing. So let's bring in this is a friend of my brother's, but he's actually the coach of Harrisburg Heat. It's pretty fun. Pat Healey, who's a friend of my family. So, hey, Pat, how are you doing? And Happy New Year. How are you doing?
Doing great. Happy New Year to you. Hope your holidays were great.
Yeah. So last week, you guys, you were here. You were coaching against the Blast down there at the CQ Arena. So a tough loss. But what did you learn from that game?
It's a tough arena to come into. The fans are loud. The Blasts are very good at home, so it's very tough to get a result. I thought we did some great things throughout the game. We were just not able to come out with a victory, but good performance overall, and on to the next one.
Yeah, that's true. You just got to get up and do it again, this weekend, right? Are you guys playing this weekend?
We're in Florida this weekend. We actually leave on Thursday. We have 2 games in Florida, Friday and Sunday.
Against the Tropics, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what are the Tropics actually improving? over the years, or are they still trying to figure out what they're doing in Central Florida?
No, they're doing a great job. Clay Roberts has brought in a lot of free agents the last few years, and they had some few guys that they discovered too, and they're one of the top dogs in the league right now, and they're looking for a championship. So it's going to be a tough weekend, but we're going to go do our best and give it all we got because we've been doing that the last couple games.
Yeah. Steve, go ahead for Pat. Pat, Steve's on a delay, so it might be a little hard because something's up with his technology. But go ahead, Steve. Could be the internet.
No problem.
Okay, I think we may want to use the phone. Anyway, let's just keep on going. Yeah. We'll fix it. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Pat, last year nobody played at all with this COVID-19 stuff. What are you guys what is the protocols for you guys to keep everybody healthy and safe, because I think the Blast had an outbreak before Christmas.
Yeah, we had one right after them. There's a source that started at, and they kind of gave it to them, and then it lingered to us. So it was over that Christmas period, and we kind of got through it. I think there's only 5 guys on the team that's remaining that didn't get it. I got it myself, and luckily I was, not kind of no symptoms and stuff. But we have a couple guys still left.
Hey, Pat, good to hear from you.
I have no idea.
It's been a while since I've been to a Baltimore Blast game. I noticed they've had a fair amount of high-end finishes the last couple of years. So how's the team looking this year?
Can you repeat that?
He was asking about how's the team looking this year, coming up, after, the last, the year.
Our team or the Blast?
For you guys, the Heat.
Yeah, we're a little bit of a I don't want to call it a rebuild. I hate that word a little bit, but we know who we are. We had a bunch of guys leave for free agency from us. And that's a good thing that says good thing about our organization, that guys want our players, or teams want our players. We're the smaller budget team in the league. So we accept we're going to build within. And 1 year, it was supposed to be last year, was the year we were supposed to go for it. And we were getting really good. We have I think we were at 4 All-Stars, which is great. So for a team that usually doesn't get All-Stars. So we had Elton Deal there, made the All-League team. We had Dylan Hundell, who led the team in league in blocks. Daniel Villel was second in team in assists. And then we had the new up-and-coming goal scorer, Tavoy Morgan, who we actually sold to traded to San Diego for cash and some players. And one being Luis Brambrillo, who came back and has done well for us so far. He actually had an injury, so he was out the first 2 games, but he played against Baltimore this previous week. So we were kind of rebuilding, and that's okay. Brought some good veterans back that used to play on the team. But we have a 2-year plan of, can we get better? Can we find a way to get in the playoffs this year? And I think if we found a way to get in the playoffs, I think we would surprise the team, because we would have nothing to play, lose in a way. But next year is really where I think we can put some pieces together and, kind of really go for it. We also had Dom Francis, who actually, was up there in points too, who went to Kansas City last year and, scored a ridiculous amount, 10 goals in 4 games, did an unbelievable job there. So we have talent to build on, but we got to still add those pieces.
Exactly. Well, Pat, let me let you go because we got a full slate here. So thanks for coming on tonight. Be safe in your trips to Florida, and hope everybody is safe and healthy. Right now I'm in this protocol stuff. So
yeah.
Been
through it, done it. Keep safe, do the best you can.
Yep. Be healthy, and we'll talk to you down the road. Okay.
Sounds good. See you later.
All right, buddy. See you. All right. That's Pat Healey, the head coach of and general manager of the Heat. So we're going to switch places, Adam. We're going to go do some hockey real quick.
Cool. I can talk college hockey.
First of all, this is the Black Bears. This is Clint Milnick, who is the head coach of the Black Bears of Maryland Black Bears, who is a good friend of ours. You know, he's been on the program. Hi, Clint. How you doing?
Good, Chris. How you doing, Adam?
Doing good, Clint.
Yeah. So how's everything going down there in the Pine Orchard?
Oh, it's going great. I mean, we're right now battling for first place, and we've got a pretty exciting team. In terms of where we are in the standings, one of the top teams in our league this year. So, I mean, the growth has been great. More players are earning commitments to Division I schools and developing nicely. So it's the name of the game, man. We want our kids to develop on and off the ice and prepare them for college and get them ready. And we feel like that we have a fun team. Not only are they talented, but they have a great work ethic. So yeah, it's kind of fun to be a part of.
That's cool. You guys haven't played. You guys are not playing right now. You have a good little break. So what do you guys do during this break time? You guys relax, heal up, keep yourself not in COVID protocols and all that stuff?
Yeah, definitely heal up. We got some guys that are, resting up and getting things looked after like you have to. A little body maintenance, as they say. But we're working hard. I mean, we can't take 5 days off and do nothing. So we're actually working on, we identify some things as a group, not just the coaches, but the players. And we came to an agreement. What are things we have to get better at and keep striving to improve to be a better team. So we've kind of focused on that this week. And if you can believe it, it's not the exciting stuff like scoring. It's more things that how do you play away from the puck? How do you get it back? It's systematic stuff, but little things that we feel are really important details. So we're trying to put them through about 45 minutes a day of hard work, and they do off-ice workouts as well. So keeping them sharp, keeping them ready, and we don't want to walk into next weekend and slowly. We want to be ready to go.
Yeah. So this next weekend, January 21st and 22nd, jump in Jamestown. Yeah, up there in Jamestown. And then you'll be home, against you'll be home against the Johnstown Tomahawks the following week. So I guess this is great, back-to-back weekends of double hockey. So I guess, did you guys have cancellations with this COVID stuff, or what happened?
No, just based on the number of teams we have in our division, everyone gets a couple bye weeks, the way it works out throughout the season. So earlier in the year, we had a weekend off, and then we get this weekend off, and then we don't have another weekend off until the end of the regular season in early May. So it's never ideal to have a weekend off and you skip, but especially after a long Christmas break. But rest is never a bad thing either. We play 60-game season, so we're gonna do what we can with the days off, and then after that, it's every weekend we go, and we're playing every weekend from here on out until the playoffs start.
That's true. Adam, go ahead. You have a question?
Yeah. What are the now, since we're in the COVID situation, what have the crowds been like for you during this hockey season?
Well, last year they were sparse. It was 0 to start the season. Then I think it was, I don't remember the exact percentage, but I think it was like 50% capacity by the end of the season. And this year, it just depends. It's funny. It kind of changes almost lately anyway. They're kind of almost week to week. So the crowds have been pretty fun. They've been good. Not as probably as much as you'd like, but right now we're just going to follow CDC guidelines. So last week we went, whatever the percentage was, we had the building at that capacity, and then whatever they tell us when we're back at home in a few weeks will be the same thing. So I give credit to our ownership group. They seem to put up with it, and it's never ideal to be told you can only have X amount of people in your building when that's you need that revenue, right? So yeah. I give credit to all the owners in our league to keep their teams going. So we're just going to follow whatever the county tells us to do. And last week we had a good sized crowd, and it was awesome. And obviously when if the county says, hey, you got to get down to these numbers, or here's where you're at, we'll follow that protocol for sure.
That's true. Well, Clint, let me let you go. We got a full slate of people who like
bet.
to talk to us.
Awesome.
So I appreciate it. Yeah, we're getting people like to come on now on Tuesday nights. It's like better than Wednesdays. So we'll get you
Awesome.
on there. I'm hoping to get better from this COVID thing. I have this. I had an outbreak here, but
Wow.
I should be all right. But hopefully by the time January 21st comes around, I might be able to go to a game down there on the end of the month.
Yeah, it'd be great to have you. And I think everyone's gone through it. Our team went through it last year, and it's not a fun thing. So, we wish you all the best, and hopefully you get healthy soon. And good catching up with you guys.
All right, man. Thank you so
All right,
much.
take care.
We'll keep in touch.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Good luck, Clint.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, that's Coach Milmek, who is the head coach at the Black Bears. Let's bring in. We got a lot of people asking about this program. Let me bring this up. Calvert Hall has a great hockey program. I used to do Calvert Hall games on the radio back in the old days. When we did this on and somebody gave me an old jersey. So
nice, Chris.
I still wear it once in a while, because it's a nice jersey. So, hi, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for coming on. We're trying to, it's beginning of January, and there's a lot of other sports going on in the state of Maryland besides the Ravens are done, and everybody else is looking, for something to do. And ice hockey at Mount Pleasant, that's a great thing to do.
Yeah, so we're back. Mount Pleasant went through some renovations over the last 2 years. So they're back in action. They're open. We've been playing there for the last month or so. And then starting this Friday night, and the next 5 Friday nights, we're home for home games. So it's 7 p.m. every Friday, plenty of parking. And, as long as your masks are on inside, spectators are welcome. So we had some big league game this Friday night against Landon School in the MAPHL league that we're in. So we have our 80s theme night. So we're encouraging everybody to come. That jersey would probably be a good fit for this Friday there, Chris. But that might be more 90s version there.
Yeah, I don't know. I did the games a long time ago, and it's like normally I had back then I was like one of these started broadcasting. I'm like, can I get a jersey? So I could put it up on the wall. So, and I forgot who was before you, the coach who worked up. I think he did a lot of the stuff at Ice World. Forget his name.
Mike Shramick.
Yeah, Mike gave me this, like, hey, take this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank you. Yeah, I love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great jersey.
Yeah, so that's good. We're trying to bring some high school hockey back into Baltimore with some good passion here. So Calvert Hall's rolling this year. We got a good squad. Got 9 strong seniors, 9 strong juniors, and 2 sophomore, 2 freshmen. So we're locked and loaded this year, and a lot of good talented hockey players on the squad.
Yeah. I was looking at the league. There's a lot of youth, a lot of high school hockey, like Harford County. Do they have like a traveling league team now? Because it's like Team Harford County. And I'm like, what is that? I know they're playing at Ice World, but it's like.
Yeah, that was that. So that's the public school division. The MSHL is all the public school teams, and then so they kind of merged with a Bel Air and Falston, became a Harford County hockey, and then obviously you have all your Catholic school leagues in the MIAA. It's us Mount St. Joe and Spalding in the AA conference, and then the lower A conference is all your Gilmans, your Loyolas, St. Paul's, and so forth. So some action all around for everybody.
Yeah. Mount Pleasant ice rink. I remember it was so cold when I walked in there to do the broadcast on the radio, and they put me on top of the Zamboni area, and I remember climbing this big ladder with like radio equipment. I'm like, I hope I don't lose my bag. That's not the coolest thing, but that place is nice and cold. If you want to go in and see a nice cold building, go there. If you need to. Right, Paul?
Good stuff. Yeah, that's for sure. Definitely one of the colder ones. You got to get that private room in the upstairs with the skybox. Maybe on your next go around of broadcasting, you can get the private suite up there, the presidential suite.
Yeah. Are you guys broadcasting your games online? Is it through the college, the school, or how's people tuning in?
So we do not. So school only broadcasts their games if it's on campus, whether it's baseball, football, lacrosse, basketball, what have you. So being off campus, it's just too much heavy equipment to get it over. We do have all of our games are streamed on YouTube after the fact. We have a parent that breaks the game down and puts it out a couple days later. So, but nowadays there's a system at most of the rinks. I'd say 90% of the rinks around. It's called Live Barn. So you can watch the game with a subscription through the rinks. Obviously, Mount Pleasant doesn't have it yet, but all other rinks have it. So it's a good source for family and friends who can't make it out to a game to watch it through there. It's kind of next generational stuff there.
Yeah. So, Adam, you got a question for Paul?
Yeah, I know that your games are not on campus, but like I asked our previous guest, what are the crowds been like for you during this high school hockey season in Maryland?
So it's been like I said, this Friday night is our first home game. We've kind of been road warriors here to start the season with Mount Pleasant going through some renovations. They didn't really open until after Thanksgiving. So we played a few weekday games with some decent crowds. Our JV team plays there as well. So they had a big crowd a couple weeks ago as they played Loyola. Obviously always a big rival playing Loyola High School, but we're eager to see this Friday night. Is our first home game, as I mentioned, in over 2 years. So,
wow.
This upperclassmen group, last year they were striking by COVID, and we had a very shortened season that with no league play, it was kind of just 4 to 6 weeks of play a couple opponents. But obviously there was, as Clint mentioned previously, there was no spectators allowed, and it was kind of, I'm excited this year, hopefully to keep playing week by week. Because the more these kids deserve, the atmosphere of school sports, what it's all about. So we've incorporated our hockey booster club has done a fantastic job in doing some promotional events. So like I said, we have a 80s night this week.
I was born in the
retro
80s, 81,
sunglass
so I grew up in the 80s. I know all about those days.
So we're gonna have some people dressed up as Marty McFly, maybe some teen
nice.
walking around campus.
Nice. I remember Back to the Future. Awesome movie.
All right.
Next Friday we play our rival Mount St. Joe next Friday night, the 21st at 7 p.m. That'll be a good crowd if you guys can make it out and stay safe. Obviously, as I mentioned, masks required as you enter the building, but. Some good high school hockey for the next 5 weeks on Friday nights at Mount Pleasant. Hopefully you guys can get out for a game.
Yeah, I found you guys were up at Ice World for a while. So, that's still a good facility there in Hartford County, no matter what. It's still very nice, and it's been around for like 20 years or maybe longer than that, right?
Correct, yeah. So, it looks like the film you're showing here is our senior night of last year, which this was the first game that spectators were allowed back into any arena.
Wow.
So this was a good night for our 3 seniors that graduated last year. Kind of give them a going away, last good memory of Calvert Hall hockey.
That's cool. Well, Paul, thanks so much. Thanks for coming on tonight, and we'll keep in touch, and we'll get you on before the end of the season, see how you guys are doing, and if we get to the playoffs, we'll try to get down there and get some interviews.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys. Make sure you guys follow us on our social medias, our Instagrams, our Facebook and Twitter, Calvert Hall Hockey, Calvert Hall Ice Hockey, I believe. So
that's cool.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Paul, have a good one.
Love the Phil Simms jersey, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got to bring that. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon. That's Paul Kastner, who is the varsity head hockey coach at Calvert Hall College down the street here in Baltimore. So
I can't believe you have on a Phil Simms jersey after Giants let go of their head coach, Joe
Yeah, I
Judge.
know.
The
reason I'm wearing it, real quick, before we bring Tony in, on this date in 1987, the Giants did beat the Redskins, by a score of 17-0.
Okay.
And that's why I'm wearing it, because, it's an old,
No.
look at that flashback, yeah.
Wow, Chris, you're taking back to when I was 6.
Yeah. I was actually, 1987, I was actually down here in Maryland for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. My dad actually enjoyed watching the Redskins more than the Giants, because we lived in New York and we came down here and we didn't have any football.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then let's bring real quick before I go, before we bring in Tony, another one on this date in 1995. Do you remember the CFL team?
Yeah, I remember the CFL.
Yeah.
The Canadian Football League.
Yeah. So they got the Barracudas playing the Baltimore Stallions in Miami. So that was. Yeah, look at that. Look at those uniforms.
Wow,
yeah.
that's old school.
Exactly.
Those Starter jerseys. Oh my gosh, I remember Starter being one of the top,
exactly,
sports clothing manufacturers. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's bring in Tony Simeone, who is the voice of the Notre Dame men's basketball. There's a lot of hockey as well, and I guess you're not on NBC Sports anymore. It's on Peacock and everything else, right?
Yeah,
they moved everything to Peacock in 2022 . So it's still same broadcast, but different platform if you want to tune in.
Yeah. Well, Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on. And you're taking over a well-known men's basketball broadcast from Jack Nolan, who is basically right now, I think he's somewhere in Mexico.
Yeah. He spends a lot of time in Mexico. I know he's got a timeshare down there. He also, I think, is retiring for half the year in Florida. Every time I look at him posting something on social media, it's a sunset by a beach. So he's doing retirement the right way.
That's cool.
I guess
That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah, he earned it.
Let's talk about the Irish. They have a home game against Clemson tomorrow night. It's a big game in the ACC, and Mike Ray has a big schedule this week. You got Clemson, and they got to go to Virginia Tech, and then next Monday, if it all works out, a history trip to DC to take on Howard.
Yeah, it's a really fun week, obviously. You mentioned Howard's probably the game that maybe would surprise people at this point in the year with them going out of conference. But the last 5 games, they've won all of them, and they've been really dramatic. This team has really kind of turned it around, and I think made believers out of a lot of people that maybe coming into the year or after the first month were skeptics. So there's a real, I think, added excitement and emphasis to this home game tomorrow night against Clemson. And there's a real opportunity with it as well between Clemson, who's 2-2 in conference, then Virginia Tech, as you mentioned, on the road. They're winless so far in the conference. So Notre Dame fans, they're looking at this as a chance to maybe be 5-1 in the conference before they go to that game on Martin Luther King Day at Howard. So the vibes around the program, I think, are really high, really where they were probably, maybe 3-4 years ago when they were going to those Elite Eights and really in the mix in the ACC. So it's an exciting time to be around the program. And I think, it'll be since the North Carolina game or the Kentucky game, really, North Carolina didn't have a student section, but since that Kentucky game, the most anticipated home game of the season. Yeah.
I talked to Mike Bray yesterday on the ACC Zoom teleconference call, and I asked him about this big game coming up on next month. I know you got to get through the 2 ACC conference games, but he's really excited about this game next Monday because he's making it a history lesson for his kids. And let me play the interview real quick that I had a chance to talk to him yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Situation with this COVID stuff going on in my neck of the woods, but what's the plan and how, what are you looking forward to for next week?
Well, that game, we tried to pull off last year. Howard had a shutdown, and I think it's just an amazingly powerful message around a basketball game. For us, our university, to be on the campus of Howard University, maybe the most esteemed HBCU in Washington, D.C., a couple blocks from MLK's memorial on MLK Day on Fox National TV. I just think there's some really good stuff. And maybe the most powerful part of it is the educational opportunity for my guys. I don't know how many parents of our players, when we scheduled this game, and recruits 2 years ago, said, Coach, that's really powerful that you're going to be at Howard and on an HBCU campus. So I got 2 league games to deal with this week, but Saturday night when I go back to the hotel in Blacksburg, then I'll start to focus on being in DC and being at Howard University.
And I have to ask real quick, Coach Blakeney, I have him on my program, hopefully Tuesday. What type of coach is he? He came from Duke, and you probably saw him at Duke, right? When he was
I recruited him. I was an assistant at Duke, recruited him. He was my assistant at Delaware. He's like a son to me. And that's why we did the game and we're home and home with him. I put it this way with Kenny, if I had a young son now looking for a school, if he played for Kenny Blakeney, I know he'd be in good hands. He is a great father figure, mentor, knows the game, but he's great with young people. I want my son around Kenny Blakeney on a daily basis.
Well, I hope everybody's okay. All right, folks. That's Coach Mike Bray. Yesterday, we were trying to get Coach Blakeney on tonight, but he will be on next week here on the program. So Tony, it seems like he loves this home and home series with these different schools. It brings out the brand of Notre Dame basketball.
Yeah, well, I think you heard him talk about it too. I think the ability to beat an HBCU on Martin Luther King Day is really unique. And as you said, it sends a really great message. I think there's also the interesting connection with Martin Luther King and Father Hesburgh, who worked closely together when he was in the area. And I think that there's a Notre Dame connection to Martin Luther King Day. Every year on campus, they go out of their way to make sure that they recognize the day. So that the basketball program understands that, and they always have. And so their ability to go out and recognize it in their own way, as you mentioned too, it's nationally televised game on a federal holiday that a lot of people will see. I think the fun wrinkle in that game too, as a broadcaster, is that Gus Johnson will be on the call, and he went to Howard, which of course is not known for its broadcasting program. And I am of a similar background. I went to Pepperdine, not known for our broadcasting program either. But of course, for Gus to be able to call that game at his old school on Martin Luther King Day will have its own significance to it as well. So you heard him that he wants to be able to coach against a guy he's familiar with in Kenny, and also I think get that game back on the schedule after it was unfortunately kicked off last year. The nice wrinkle this year is that last year it wouldn't have had any fans because of COVID keeping all the fans out. Now, if we knock on wood, presumably in a week, you'll be able to have some fans there as well. So that's a good upside as well.
Exactly. Go ahead, Adam. You have a question for Tony?
All right, Tony. I live in ACC country here in North Carolina, so it's like I know what happened when the Tar Heels went to Notre Dame and got humiliated. Do you guys think up in South Bend you have a shot to catch the upper teams like Florida State, North Carolina, and get like at least finish in the top 5 and possibly get a first round bye in the ACC tournament this year?
Yeah, I think the belief around the program is that they can. I think when you look at the team, the stat that I thought was really interesting, and a lot of these stats now are goosed with the way COVID has kind of added eligibility to everybody. But Mike Bray brought back a team this year that had 350 starts under their belt before the year. That was the most. The most prior was 257. So it's the most by a landslide. He had a really experienced team coming in, and they got off to a really slow start. And the environment around the team was not one of panic. It was like, we know we're better than this. We're going to figure it out. And you've seen it in the last month play out that way. And so it was interesting. I think you mentioned North Carolina when they beat UNC here last Wednesday. And maybe part of this was because there was no student section because the classes had not come back yet. The reaction was not, overexcited or extra celebratory or a lot of fist pumping. It was the reaction of a team that expected to win. And I think now, especially when we look at the ACC, it's not maybe as top heavy or as even deep as it has been in years past. I think, and obviously I'm biased and I'm paid to be biased, right? But
yes, you are.
Yeah, I think that top 4 is totally realistic in the conference. And I think that at this point, especially at the start they've gotten off to, they've stolen a couple games on the road. They have to be pretty hungry and greedy for that as well. So I think that it's very realistic. And if you ask anybody around the program, that's where they expect to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about tomorrow night against Clemson. I think we talked about it a little bit, but Clemson, Brad Bunnell bringing his 2 troops in. Clemson had a pretty good non-conference schedule. I know they beat a couple good ranked teams, and it seems like everybody in the ACC, their non-conference schedule, did a great job. And I think that's why springing everybody to, you don't know who's going to be winning these games. Like Miami went into Durham over the weekend and beat Duke, the number 2 team in the country, and they only dropped to 4. So this is going to be a very interesting ACC schedule.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head that you don't really know what you're going to get every game. The most interesting thing was going into that Carolina game, Notre Dame was coming off, or they earlier in the year had lost by 16 to Boston College, and North Carolina had just beaten Boston College by like 30. But also then North Carolina had lost to Kentucky by 20, and Notre Dame had beaten them at the buzzer at home. So none of the results necessarily make a lot of sense when you cross reference them and use the transitive property. So I think every game is wide open. I mean, listen, Notre Dame's 3-1 in the conference, but they're about 3-4 plays away from possibly being 0-4. Right. It's just simple as that. They've won both their games on the road, one in overtime and one by, in the last 5 seconds. The one at home in North Carolina, they trailed in the final minute. I think my stat now is that they've trailed in every conference game coming out of the final media timeout.
Wow.
So with less than 4 minutes left, they've at least trailed at some point, which I think is a testament to how they've played late. But it also tells you how this conference, there's a lot of parity. And I think you can look up at the end of the year and anybody can be really anywhere.
Exactly. Well, Tony, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll try to get you on for some hockey talk, down the road, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Chris, Adam, thanks so much.
Luck. And good luck to you tomorrow night against Clemson.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, see you. All right, that's the voice of Notre Dame men's basketball, Tony Simeone, who does some stuff on the Peacock Network. Before we bring this gentleman in, I got to bring up a really cool thing that happened today. The New York Mets are actually retiring Keith Hernandez's number.
Yeah, I saw that.
Cool. You got to retire Keith.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I remember when him and Ron Darling and Darryl Strawberry, and I mean those amazing Mets in the 80s. I mean, they were the tops in the National League. And I mean, we all remember what happened against the Boston Red Sox in the World Series, and they're the legs, and the Mets won. So that's going to be a really cool moment again against Miami Marlins on July 9th. I know a lot of people will probably be at Shea Stadium,
Citi Field.
Yeah. Or
Citi Field, it's called. Yeah. Let's bring this gentleman in. He's well known here in Baltimore. Does a fantastic. He's been on the air for 30 years. Just celebrated his 30th anniversary around Baltimore with all the cool crab cakes and all the cool music and all that stuff. Nestor Aparicio. Hi, Nestor. How you doing? And Happy New Year.
What's going on? Happy New Year, guys. It's not too happy. We're not playing football around here. We're watching everybody else play. But,
no, you're not.
No. That was just pathetic. I'm sorry, on Sunday. That was just terrible.
Yes,
well, it's unique here that we have expectations of playing football in January every year. And I said on the internet earlier this week, it's like one of the first times in a long time where I feel like there was no thought of bus trips to Buffalo or to Pittsburgh or New England, and we're going to be playing 2 or 3 weeks into this. It became pretty clear, even at Thanksgiving when Lamar first got hurt, that he wasn't coming back quickly. And even if he was, the rest of the roster was so depleted that I've been following this from the beginning. I was here begging for a team when Jacksonville and Charlotte got their teams back in the 90s. And this has been the strangest year because you can't be upset with the coaches or the personnel people when you've lost 28 people on your roster to large. I mean, and your best players weren't playing the last 6 weeks of the season. They lost 6 games in a row, and they're going to have to sit on that for 9 months now, the Ravens front office. And it's a very, very unusual thing that happened here this year that it was so disappointing. And, I guess setting up now, we're not shocked that we're not in the playoffs, right? I mean, maybe on Thanksgiving when they're 8-3, you would have felt that way. But I think if you were watching the games, watching the defense, watching the way Harbaugh managed with the 2-point conversions and whatnot, because he had no defensive players, the offensive line was never really right, the running game was never right. So it's an incomplete season in Baltimore as I see it.
Yeah, so let's talk. I got some questions to ask you. I was working on it today. Let's bring up the first question. What is the plan for Lamar? what's the plan? I know he's on his last year of his rookie deal. He's his mom's his agent. I wish I had my mother as an agent.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably get a better deal where I am right
now. No, I don't know. I don't know, dude. That's probably a really bad idea. There's a reason he's the only one who has his mother as an agent in the history of professional sports. It's a really bad idea. So, look, he's not vaccinated. He was gimpy and injured. And with Lamar Jackson, I call this the original sin for the organization. They traded up. They got the extra year for him. Now, the extra year is a $22 million a year next year. So it's not like he's playing on a $9.5 million contract the last 4 years the way he has been. They will have to pay him a lot of money next year. What that does moving into the following year where he's going to be a $40 million a year quarterback and what that's going to mean for their salary cap and what that means for players they've drafted like Patrick Queen as to whether he'll get another deal or not. Mark Andrews they've signed. And obviously for the offseason for them, their entire franchise is built around this guy. There is no, well, we'll just sign Tyler Huntley, stupid fan talk around here after he beat Chicago back in November here. Lamar's one of one. He's a unique guy, and they've built the entire offense around him. I don't think they can jettison him, but I also don't think they can go giving him $125 million this offseason when he didn't play the last 6 weeks. I call it the original sin because, and this is the first night we saw him play. His first game was in Canton, Ohio at the Ray Lewis Hall of Fame induction. So it was that stupid fifth game they play, and they don't play any real players. It's the early preseason game. He came in, took the ball, and started running into linebackers. And I'm watching this from up at the top of the Canton Stadium, and I'd never seen anything like this. Maybe at Navy or something, where they're running RPO. And I'm thinking, he's taking on too much contact by choice. But every quarterback in the league's trying to not get hit. He is trying to figure out how to maneuver through linebackers. And early on, that's what they had to do when they had Joe Flacco's offense. Then they had that year where they were 14-2. 2 years ago, that was their best chance. They had Yanda heading to the Hall of Fame. They had things really percolate. Defenses didn't know what to do with him. They weren't ready for him. And then that Chargers game changed everything. The Titans game really changed things. And then last year they lose to the Bills and they get eliminated by them. As far as a January quarterback, you have to convince me he's going to play 17 games and still be standing in January to be effective. And, they're only at the quarter pole with this, right? He's 5 years into this career. And this was the year that he really got hurt and wasn't there at the most important games of the year at the end of the year. I would say to you that probably is right on target, right? Like to think that he's going to play 10 years in this league without getting broken in half at some point in November or without being injured to the point as to be, not fully capable of what he's capable of doing. And I go back to last year, and last year was a little bit of an outlier when there were no fans at games. All that was going on. Practices were different. They played that crazy Wednesday game when the trainer got everybody dirty up in Owings Mills.
Yeah.
But he was not playing well because he was injured. And if you go back and look at how many times he carried the ball in the Philadelphia game, Washington, I'm talking October, November of a year ago, he wasn't fully capable of being Lamar Jackson at that point. Right. This year we get to, by October, he's got no offensive line. By November, first week in November, he ran the ball 21 times against the Vikings. I pissed him off in the press conference by asking him the only question I asked him this year. He took umbrage, and then I asked Harbaugh, and Harbaugh got all upset with me in the post game, and I'm like, he hasn't been right since. He ran the ball 21 times. They got their ass kicked against Miami. He threw 4 picks against Cleveland the following week, and I'm going back to Halloween now when Tyler Huntley was beating the Bears because he didn't get a vaccination, right? So there's all of that going on with him, and he's still Lamar Jackson. We're going to buy his jersey. We can't replace him. You certainly can't go to the bench and bring Tyler Huntley in. But I don't know that you go giving the kid $40 million. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a heck of a conundrum for the organization, but I think they're past the point of no return because they're not really in the market to find another quarterback in the next 36 months, and they're married to him. And they built the organization around him. So they need to figure out how to keep him healthy, and they need to figure out how to build around him, and not just him, but everybody else. I mean, Dobbins, Edwards, Boyle, Ricard, all these guys that were supposed to block for him, Stanley, who they gave all the money to, none of those guys came onto the field this year, and that did not reflect well upon Lamar, and probably has not helped his street value in the offseason where he didn't play. The team's lost 6 games in a row, and now we're going to talk about giving him a contract? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that's plausible this offseason.
Hey, let's talk about the next question I have. What's next for the Ravens? They got to fix that offensive line. That's the number one thing to keep Lamar from running for his life. Because I feel like that offensive line, they should have kept Orlando Brown. He's a friend of my my girlfriend Ann, who taught at Pinewood. Back in the old days.
Well, your friendship notwithstanding with him, he's not a left tackle, and everybody in the league would tell you that. So he was an exceptional right tackle. They got good value out of him in dealing him off. They weren't going to sign him. If you go back to Rick Wagner and you go back to Ryan Jensen, who's snapping the Tom Brady now, they gave their money to Ronnie Stanley. I mean, that's what they did. They gave their money to John Ogden before. Then after that, they drafted Ben Grubbs ahead of Marshall Yanda. They gave the money to Yanda before Grubbs was eligible. Grubbs got paid from New Orleans and was out of the league by the time Marshall Yanda was playing in the Super Bowl. And I mean, I've witnessed this. There's only so much money to go around. And that era where there was money for Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs and Elodie Nada, and they don't have that caliber football player right now, which is why they're 8-9 and drafting 14th and not playing this week. And it's funny you would say that their offensive line's their biggest problem because they just gave McCary money. Bozeman, I don't know. If somebody goes giving Bozeman Ryan Jensen money, they're going to lose him too. Right. And Stanley, they're so sunk in on him, kind of like the Carson Wentz contract or they've given Stanley so much money that there's no budge. Let's just hope he gets better. Let's get him back out on the field. They have no other option with him. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, that's where it's interesting to me because they drafted Queen to play in the middle. He can't play in the middle. He might be a pretty good outside player. I don't know if he'll be a Pro Bowl player, but he'll be a good outside player. He'll get on the field the next 3 or 4 years as an outside player. I don't know whether they'll contract him or what they'll pay him. They have nobody to get after the quarterback. Their defensive line is decimated in this offseason. I mean, all the Pierces and the Wormleys and the guys that are gone, then Calais Campbell played well this year. Will he come back? I mean, I'd love to see him come back. Wolf never made it to the field this year. Brandon Williams is done. I mean, just done. They're not going to bring him back at any price. Pernell McPhee, those guys are gone. Houston played for cab fare this year. I don't know that he'll do that again. Adafe Owe, we saw a year out of him. At various points, he was dominant beginning part of the year, and then other points he faded. But defensively, getting Humphrey back, he'll play. It's a pec injury. He'll be back on the field. Marcus Peters, a lot of money involved in him. And then all the other guys in the secondary, whether it's Jimmy Smith, Tavon Young, all those guys, Brandon Stevens, who ran around a lot this year, was a draft pick. They're going to need help on defense. They're going to draft on defense in this draft. I have no doubt about that.
I agree with
They feel very good about their wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing is, do you think Lamar will be around?
All right, it's probably me. Sorry about that.
Next 5 years?
That was probably me. My internet here at the old house. So go ahead, repeat that.
I said, do you think that Lamar will be a Baltimore Raven at least for the next 5 to 10 years if he does well?
Well, 10's a long time. So, let's think in terms of 2 or 3 that this is the year they're going to play with him, try to win again. I mean, look, they were constructed to win this year.
Yes,
and that's the disappointing part, that they didn't underachieve. They didn't underperform. They didn't get old. They didn't age. They just got injured. And in a way that I can't even explain. I mean, the one-off season thing here for Bisciotti and for Eric DeCosta is, who's training these guys? What fields are they playing on? What weights are they using? Why were they so injured? That's a question I think a lot of people are asking. And I don't know that it's a complete retool here in any way. They're going to get Dobbins back. Edwards, Boyle signed. They gave him a lot of money. They need him to come back. Ricard was banged up at the end. I think they had an ACL issue with their linebacker the other day. So with Tyus Bowser. So they've had some injuries here that the offseason and this downtime, we're going to be talking about filling holes to the draft. We're going to be talking about filling holes in free agency. But I think the Ravens will do everything they can do to not talk about signing Lamar and saying he's under contract. We can franchise him. We can sign him. We just don't think it's an issue right now. And we're budgeted to think he's going to be a $40 million player on our 23 roster. Whether he is or not, he can't escape. So there's nowhere for him to go. It's then about them negotiating with his mother and really deciding that they want him, to your point, in 2027 and 28, and where that allotment of cash against the cap is going to be in the $50 million range by then for a 29, 30-year-old version of Lamar Jackson. I don't know. I pass on that. I if that's a bet for me to take right now in Vegas, I don't take that bet at $250 million, but I'm not all in on the kid. They are. Again, to me, it's the original sin. He runs into linebackers. Will he be available on January 20th for me? The next 5 will he be available and be the player that he's flashed to be when he's 23, that he isn't without, to your point, complementary players. And if I have to have a gold star offensive line around him, if I have to have Marshall Yanda and Ryan Jensen and Bradley Bozeman and Ronnie Stanley and J.K. Dobbins and Hollywood Brown and not Brashad Perryman, I'm flashing back. Rashad Bateman, I should say. If I have to have all those players around him, I can't go giving him $45 million. We did that here with Flacco, right? I mean, once you win, it changes everything for how the structure of teams are made. And unlike Bob Kraft cheating with Tom Brady and promising some money down the line and whatnot and pulling numbers off of the cap figures, the Ravens are going to have other people to pay here. And that's the unfortunate part. They didn't win while Lamar was cheap, because Lamar's not cheap anymore. Now they're going to have to do it in other ways.
Oh, no, he ain't cheap.
So, Nestor, what are you doing tomorrow on your program? I know you do a lot on Facebook. I get up in the morning and see you talk to your good buddies and all that stuff. What are you doing this week on your program?
Well, it's actually New Year's, so I'm turning a little bit to some inspirational people around me. A guy named Mark Brzezinski, who does a Sunday Voice about uplifting people and mental health. I have a lot of politicians on. I have musicians on. I have artists on. I have a lot of hospital right now with COVID and with Omicron and trying to keep people safe. So I'm just having a lot of conversations with friends, primarily here to start the year. Football friends, to some degree. I'm waiting for the playoffs to shake out. 6 teams are going to go home this weekend and super wild card weekend and all that. It's going to be a good weekend for football. And on a personal level, I'm moving next week. So I'm packing up boxes with my wife on 20-degree days. So it's a little bit of a slow season. We're supposed to go to the Super Bowl next month. I have my credentials and my hotel and flight and all that, but I'm not sure with Omicron and with masks how Radio Row is going to be at the Super Bowl. So I'm crossing my fingers, hoping to get to the Super Bowl, but I'm certainly not taking the long view on that to think that getting through the plague is the most important thing at this point and staying safe.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to Indianapolis this past weekend, but I tested positive because my girlfriend is sick right now.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad we're on Zoom and we're not together having a crab cake.
Yeah, but hey, I have no symptoms. I'm okay. I'm getting paid for my other job, and so I'm having a good time. Yeah.
Well, hey man, I appreciate you guys having me on and having me back here. I wish I were too busy to come on planning all my playoff excursions, but I'm here licking my purple wounds and waiting for Saturday football and Sunday football and Monday football and whatever else they decide to play. So,
real quick, I got to ask you about the national championship game. What did you think about that last night?
It's great to see an underdog kid from Georgia win like that. It was even better to see him drunk on Tuesday morning doing morning television. That was funny. I find college football to be a little boring to me in the outcomes. And, I'm in Maryland, so it's Big Ten country that used to be ACC country, and they get their ass kicked by Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan every year. And, the sweepstakes with the coaches and how much money they make. And I don't know, everything about Alabama and Clemson gives me the slimes. And Georgia to some degree, but they're new to the party. And Herschel Walker aside, I once had a great relationship with Eric Zier. So how about them dogs?
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I hope to talk to you before the Super Bowl, and hopefully the Super Bowl will be on Zoom again like last year. I had a chance to talk to Antonio Brown and made him cry. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Oh, did you make him take his shirt off?
No, I didn't. He's not cheerleading in my area, but I made him cry. He was crying right after I asked him about Tom Brady and what has he meant to you, and he was. I was like, I made this guy cry. Really? It's like, wow, this is great.
He might be medicated.
Yeah, he might be medicated, but I'm sitting there going,
or unmedicated. I'm not sure which way.
You got to see this. Yeah, and he's like, really? And I was like, yeah. He was crying right after I asked the question. He's like, you're no Dan Rather. I'm like,
Barbara Walters, baby. You make him cry.
Hey, made him cry.
There you go. There you go.
Well,
there you go.
Thank you so much for coming tonight and on the program. Be safe. Have a safe trip with your move, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you when the Orioles season starts, or if the Orioles season starts.
That's right. Yes.
Gotta love it.
And you wonder why I stopped talking about sports exclusively.
I agree, because you gotta love the Orioles. Hey,
Cal Ripken Jr.
Hey, what about Buck Showalter in New York? You with the Mets?
They're only going to lose 99 this year, if they're Orioles, so that's fine. For Buck, God bless Buck. Let him go up there and play around with these new people that have money to throw around, and he's in New York and gets a chance to manage again, and we'll throw the book at analytics and all that. As long as he doesn't leave Zach Britton on the bench in Toronto in the ninth inning, everything will be fine. So
I know you should have brought him in that game. It would be a different history if he did bring him in.
I might have had to write a book about how Peter Angelos had a parade. That would have been something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would have been.
I was all ready to write that book.
Hey, you can still write that book, if you need to.
Go ahead.
Hey, look, we're just trying to get to double-digit losses this year. Just really trying to get the team on the field this year in general, because it's baseball and they're greedy. What can I say?
Exactly. Well, sir, thank you so much. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, man. Have a great New Year. Enjoy the games this weekend.
All right. Thank you so much.
See you, man.
See you. All right, folks. That's Nestor Aparicio, who is here on WNST here in Baltimore. So a little Ravens inside there. Steve was trying to get on, I guess, his phone and internet. We'll get him on next week because hopefully I'll be out of protocol. You never know.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're okay, Chris.
One of those things. But I'm fine, dude. I have no symptoms, no nothing. I'm vaccinated, pretty good.
Yeah, same here. You can watch all the action on Flow Bowling from the PBA Tour, Player Championship. I can't believe it's already starting, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, I saved the best for last before we log off here. I know we're a little over our time schedule here, but I was doing some research. Every week we're going to do the on this date in PBA history because I feel like.
Oh, okay. All right.
This gentleman, there's some guy named Randy Peterson.
Yeah. It's called. Who is that?
Yeah. Look at that. Back in 1986, won his first title in Uniondale, beating Dennis Jakes. And look at that.
Mustache and everything. Wow.
Yeah.
Young boy.
Randy Peterson. On this date, January 11th, 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I saved the best for last for you, buddy.
Cool. Thank you. It was really good.
Yeah. So
to be honest with you, Chris,
we'll be on next
week. Enjoy all the NFL action, and go Florida State. It's called. We do have our women's soccer programs really good. Our baseball and softball teams are really good. So we can't forget basketball too. So
yeah. Well, we'll see you. Hopefully, we'll get you on for all these bowling segments during the year.
Yes, you will. You take it easy, Chris.
I will. And next week,
in Maryland, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, buddy.
Take it easy.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks for everybody for joining us.
Yes.
Like the Maryland Black Bears head hockey coach, Clint Mimek, joining us. And Tony Simeone, the voice of Notre Dame men's basketball on Peacock, and also Nestor Aparicio, who does stuff here at WNST, some Ravens talk. We'll get him on throughout the year. He's right now fired up. So you can tell he's fired up. That was the guy I was thinking on Sunday, like, gotta get him.
Yeah.
So, folks, we'll see you next week, 7:30 here on Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. For now, tonight, folks, be safe, be well, and if you have COVID, make sure you get your vaccines and your booster. I'm not trying to be political here.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
Yes,
And
I'll
we
agree
get back
with
to what
that.
we
I'll
have
agree with that.
all these crowds and enjoy ourselves and make us see stuff next year instead of doing everything. I don't mind doing on Zoom. Don't get me wrong. So have a
Take
great
it easy,
night,
Chris.
everybody.
I'll see you later.
All right, bud. See you.